Just one or two wrong notes in there, Dan.
It's all good. Hey guys, welcome to That Pedal Show. Dan here.
Mick here, hello.
The day we thought would never come. Da, 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 da.
Yeah. Well, it hasn't come yet, but Happy New Year.
Indeed. Happy New Year.
We believe this.
That's what I was talking about.
Yeah.
The day we thought would never come.
Would 2020 ever end? So we're recording this before that.
Mm-hmm.
Was it today? Like middle of December sometime. We wanted to get one more in just to do a New Year's show. So that, wouldn't it be a great idea to think about something that would look forward?
Yes. Great idea. I love it.
Dan's got a few things up his sleeve. He's building his new pedal board, but we're not quite there yet. So
No.
This show, I phoned Dan and I said, "Are you sitting down, mate?" Said, okay, so what's happened is, regular viewers will know that in the last few episodes, we've been really taken with Chase Bliss's Automatone format of pedal.
Mm-hmm.
And so far they've done two, right, Dan?
Yep. 2.
The Preamp Mark II, which is a collaboration with Benson, and the CXM 1978, which is a collaboration with Meris. And it's the kind of thing you look at, and it's worth watching the shows that we've done on them just to sort of orientate yourselves, if you like. You look at that and you think, wow, is that a bit of studio gear? Is it a guitar pedal? Mm-hmm. What happens if someone spills a pint of ale on it, or even any other kind of beverage? But actually, what's happened is we plugged them in and both of us have gone, my goodness, that really does
superb
sound really, really good. And in my case, I've gone, I'm not sure I can be without that for a minute anyway. Because, you know, it's all cyclical, right? And sometimes we really love things and sometimes we really don't. I heard the reverb and I just never wanted to unhear it.
I know.
And the Automatone preamp, every time I use it, I've used it for quite a bit of recording, and it's like, oh my God, I can dial in pretty much anything I want to dial in.
Yeah.
So then, obviously, running parallel with all of this is a crazy stereo stroke wet dry rig that involves a Mesa Boogie 5050 power amp, which is forthcoming. Mm-hmm. So my head is in this world of bit of stereo, bit of extra functionality, bit of wet dry here and there, and of course where G3 Atom plays into all of this. And so I'm thinking, well, hang on then, two automatones, they're both, well, the reverb and the delay that I'm using, the free the tone, they're both stereo, but crucially...
They're what, Mick? Say it. Go on.
We need a... What do we need? They're MIDI.
They are MIDI.
M1D1. And I've always said I've never used MIDI, like literally over my dead body. At least today on the whatever 10th of December it is.
So let's
my
look
body is not dead.
No, exactly. Let's look at why that's the case.
Yeah, I think it's a great question.
Yeah.
Sorry, I've got to do this. The truth, it's often said that, sorry, this is a bit of a lengthy intro, but it requires context. I think that, you know, the way that me and Dan play out on That Pedal Show and our personal gear preferences and kind of technological preferences and things that we want to hear in guitar tones, it's often thought that I'm a technophobe. But you've seen me in my day job and the kind of things I do. I'm not afraid of technology. The thing that I'm afraid of, or at least the thing that I've never got on with before when it comes to MIDI stuff, is what it's been housed in. So to date, there's nothing that I've heard that had that functionality that made me go, wow.
Expand on what it's been housed in.
Yeah, so what I want it for is sound.
Yes.
Sound first.
Yep.
So if I don't like the sound of it, I don't care what functionality it's got.
Totally.
So while some of that functionality would no doubt be useful, if it doesn't sound like, you know, if it doesn't make me wake up in the night in a cold sweat of I've got to get up and play the guitar, then I don't want to use it.
Yeah.
So, and that's, let's say that is clearly a very personal choice and we all prefer different things. alongside that, the other problem I have with a lot of MIDI devices to date is everything is hidden in menus. So, for example, on a very practical level, the kind of gigs that me and Dan do, or at least the kind of gigs that I do when there were gigs around, aren't exactly kind of, it's not like a pit band in a West End show or a touring show that has to be the same every night. The kind of bands I play in have some freedom. They're usually bar type bands or function bands where most people are there to have fun, and that's the point of it, is to have fun. And within that, there's quite a lot of latitude to mess about with sound.
Sure.
So I've never had the requirement to step on a preset and for everything to be absolutely perfect.
Sure.
Because I want to mess around.
Yeah.
And because of the way my brain is, chances are the settings that I used last night
will be different.
When I step on it tonight, I'm going to go, oh wow, that's too loud, or it's not gainy enough, or the delay mix is too high. So what's been chiefly important to me, and why I love the way that Dan approaches, like switcher and multiple single-use pedals, is because literally almost in between a breath in a verse, and I sing as well, so I've got to think about all that. I can bend down, change something.
Yep.
Be back up and be happy. Whereas in a traditional pedal that required lots of menus and stuff, you'd have to do a load of button presses.
Yep.
Sorry, lengthy intro. What has blown us both away about the Automatone UI is that it's always WYSIWYG. What you see is what you get. So there's nothing you can't see that isn't happening. So if I'm going, wow, what the hell's going on there? And I look down, I can see that I've got a gated fuzz on when I'm supposed to be playing Wonderful Tonight.
Sure.
Equally, the sliders and stuff, you can just bend down and make an instant adjustment. So all of which is to say, the combination of first and foremost, these things sound truly incredible.
Yep.
And secondly, do you know what? I think I can work with that interface.
Yeah. Because you're never lost. You never don't know where you are.
No, and to be fair to those of you who do use those devices that are extremely versatile and have loads of menus, and you've spent hours and hours in, you may well be able to get there just as quickly.
And that's a big point.
And it's all about learning it. But I've never had the inclination to do that. And like I say, I've never heard anything that's made me go, I need to spend 3 days learning this.
Sure.
So that's where we've got to. So the question is, after a rather lengthy intro, is it possible for Over My Dead Body Me to go, do you know what? Yeah, I will.
Yeah.
I'll not only will I use the sounds of these things, but I'll actually use some functionality given that it's right there and available.
Yeah.
And then alongside that, we've been asked many, many times about how a loop switcher works. So I think all of those things all net in together today, mesh in together, should I say, and we can just go through some of that. Dan's going to endeavour to teach me in the way that I'm trying to teach my puppy some things.
Mick, not on the rug!
Not on the rug, not on the rug! Oh, I've MIDI'd again! And
it's all right, it's just a CC message.
It's all right, it's our fault, not hers. And we'll see where we can go with some of the sounds. Let's cut in a little bit here to explain how the board comes together.
Okay. First things first, this isn't Mick's pedal board. Okay, I've just thrown this together so Mick can have a play and sort of get his head around, the MIDI aspects and things. Once Mick is happy, then we will do a proper board build. Okay, but it's all a bit of a rat's nest under there at the moment, but we do have Mick's fuzz is under the board. We have obviously the Harmonious Monk here.
Show the people.
All right, so this is obviously the rat's nest, because I've just got fuzz tucked in under here, and none of the cables have been cut to length. It's just been thrown together just so Mick can have a play.
It's literally a test to see if a proof of concept.
Exactly.
Yeah, you did utter the immortal words, "Once Mick is happy."
Yeah. Okay. Once Mick has no further objections.
Yeah. Insert hell freezes over, pigs flying analogies here.
So here's how I put it together. This is a board from Alder and Ash. And you know, they're lovely boards. This is a little bit too small for what we need.
You can find them on Instagram, by the way.
You can indeed. Yeah, makes wonderful stuff. There are 6 loops in here. We've got 3 mono loops, which consist of first of all the fuzz under here. Then we have the preamp Mark II and the Harmonious Monk.
We'll put a diagram up so you can see.
Yep. And then we have 2 stereo loops here, loops 5 and 6. So by using TRS cables, you have stereo loops in the Atom. We have an unused loop here in loop 4. So yeah, at the moment, loop 1 is the fuzz, loop 2 is the Chase Bliss preamp Mark II Automatone, and loop 3 is the Harmonious Monk. Loop 5, we have the Free the Tone Future Factory, and loop 6 is the CXM 1978 reverb. So we're going for a mixture of like parallel wet dry, so the signal will be split after the gain stages, and then we will put the Harmonious Monk in one side wet dry, and then those 2 parallel signals will be stereo in, stereo out of the delay and reverb. So it's a mixture of like wet dry and stereo.
But just to reiterate the point, this is not the final version of the pedal board. It's putting a few things on there for proof of concept and to see, well, actually to see if I can deal with it or not.
Yeah, it takes a while. It takes manual reading. Because the MIDI stuff.
No
Because of
no manuals.
We'll start with a standard preset, and this preset is just your through sound. Okay.
Yeah.
So we don't have any of the loops engaged, no buffers, no nothing. You're going in, and your signal is split left and right.
Yeah, what we're doing at this stage is we're kind of, if you're not familiar with what a loop switcher does, we're going to try and demystify it a bit, because those of you who've never used the loop switcher before, what you're used to doing, you can see 4 pedals there. They've all got on-off switches, and you're used to having to switch 1 on and 1 off, or 2 on and 1 off, or 4 on and 4 off at once. You can configure your loop switcher, in this case G3 Atom. I'm not sure all have the same features, but we're using G3 Atom for obvious reasons, to do exactly that, right?
Yes.
So you can just put this on switch 2, that on switch 3, that on switch 4.
Yes.
Yeah?
Indeed.
Show me how to do that?
Yes. Okay.
I know how to do this, but for your benefit, we'll do that.
Okay. So, right. When you're... people will be familiar with this concept, the way it used to be called instant access and that sort of stuff, so that you'd have a core sound, and then you'd have access to all these sounds that you could layer on top, which is basically what we're doing. Those switches can be set up to send MIDI as well, but for the moment, all we're going to do is just turn the loops on.
Let's do the basic stuff.
Okay. Right. We're in bank 3, right? So if you think of all of these foot switches as the potential to be a separate preset within a bank, right? 99 banks. We're going to go to bank 3.
99 preset banks go by.
I've got nothing to that.
Yeah. Nina.
Right.
99 Luftballons. Anyway.
Sorry, man. I'm really bad at that when my head is in explanation mode.
Yeah.
It's like being pulled out of a pool to come back in and be,
Yeah.
so I'm going back in.
Okay.
Right. Okay. So on this preset, we're just going to have our straight clean sound, nothing selected. All right. So that'll just be amplifiers left and right, A and B turned on. So a passive split between A and B. Yeah, between the 2 amplifiers.
I'm feeling pretty passive right now.
So now what we're going to do is we're going to get, we've got 5 pedals here.
Oh yeah, because there's one hidden underneath.
We've got the Ryra Clonesque.
The clone.
The clone.
Yes, underneath, because my clone won't fit.
Yes. Now, we're not going to do wet dry just yet.
Nope.
We're going to keep everything straight through.
Yeah.
So the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to say, okay, that's our preset. Let's okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yeah.
Yep. So
There are people who will watch what Dan's just done and their head will have exploded because
Okay.
it says 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So should we go?
Let's go. Okay, let's go.
Let's go. Automatone, preamp,
Yep.
clon,
Okay.
delay, reverb.
Perfect.
Can we do that?
We can. Okay. So, our preset here.
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to go to this preset here.
Yeah.
I'm going to turn on the automatone.
Because it's in loop 1.
Because it's in loop 1.
Yep.
So I'm now associating that loop with that preset.
Yep.
Okay. Now I'm going to do is turn on stompbox mode. Your little yellow light comes on here.
Yep.
So now I want to go back to that preset. So if you play that preset, and now I can use this foot switch to add loop 1 on top of that sound.
I'm just going to turn the reverb down.
Good
My
shout.
Beautiful reverb giving us trails problems. So because the preamp Mark II is in on loop 1 and
Yep.
we've assigned it to foot switch 2.
Exactly. So here we go. Perfect.
It's currently set to a fuzz sound just to prove that it is the automatone.
Beautiful. And now I'm going to repeat that process
Yeah.
for all the other loops.
Yeah.
So, foot switch 3, I'm going to turn on loop 2. Foot switch 4, turn on loop 3. Foot switch 5, I'm going to turn on loop
5 because there's
5.
nothing in
That's
loop 4
right,
at the
that's
moment.
right.
Yeah.
Put a stop box. Oh, hang on. 3 stop box, and then foot switch 6 and turn on loop 6, and put that in stop box mode. So now we've got our 5 pedals, basically,
Yeah.
all ready to be added on top of our clean sound. So just like you would, if you think of those just like you would normal effects pedals.
Yeah, like I said before, you're used to switching pedals on and off. All we're doing now is switching each of these pedals on and off using the foot switch. Just turning the pedals on and off.
Yep, that's all that's doing. So, in a sense, even though, you'd say, well, if you're going to use a loop switcher like that, what's the point?
That is how I've used. So the product previous to this that Dan made was called G2, and that's how I use G2 for 90% of the time, I would say. And the reason is was because of 2 main reasons. One was sonics, actually 3 main reasons. One was sonics; it just sounded better with everything separated.
Yep.
So that everything wasn't all smashing into one another all the time. You lose the. it's a pejorative term, which isn't necessarily a negative, but there is a tonal effect of joining two pedals together, which can be negative or can be positive depending on your point of view. Personally, I find it often very negative.
Right.
So keeping them all separate, so that's number one. It sounds better to me. Number two, it really preserves the pedals.
It really does. So the first thing in any pedal to go is a foot switch.
Yeah, so you're not stamping up and down on your foot switch the whole time. Now,
Yeah.
you might think it's a bit of an extravagance to spend X £100 on a switcher just to save a few foot switches. So that's not the primary reason. And the last reason is noise, as it relates to running something like a wet dry or a stereo rig, because when you run two amps together, you immediately get a load of problems. Firstly with phase, and secondly with ground loop hum. And if you use something like G2 or G3, it just solves all of those problems.
Yeah.
So that would be my answer to your question.
Exactly. And so that's if you're going to run it like that, they're the first things that for any loop switcher with this sort of functionality will, that'll help straight out the bat.
Yeah.
Okay?
But as you say, it doesn't make sense to a lot of people just to do it for that.
Sure.
Because what people probably want
is all the programmability.
Yeah.
But this is really interesting though. So most people, and I can only speak from my experience, but the biggest surprise is they understand the functionality and they buy it for that reason, but the biggest surprise to them is the tonal difference.
Yeah.
It's like I expected all this to be able to do this cool stuff. Didn't expect it to clean up the signal like this.
Yeah.
So that's that first step of the simplest way to use a loop switcher.
Yeah. So you can, depending on how many buttons you've got, you can have that many pedals. If you want them just all on separate buttons. But of course, what is much more interesting is combining combinations. Combining combinations. That's what our next concept album should be called then.
Done.
Combinations of pedals on a single switch.
Sure. So let's go to the next bank.
Yeah.
Okay. So where we went through and programmed up, one preset, but then made it into a stompbox mode thing. What we'll do here is multiple pedals per preset.
Yeah, do you mind if for this particular example, we do, for no other reason than it's how my brain works, can we make buttons 2, 3, and 4 various combinations of the drive pedals?
Of course.
If I want the tomato tone on its own,
Yep.
the clon on its own,
and the tomato
all the
tone.
two together,
Okay.
that would be 3 foot switches.
Yes.
Seems a bit
Correct.
simplistic, but can we do it?
Totally. So let's say this is going to be tomato tone.
Yeah.
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 And let's say foot switch 4 is going to be the clon.
Yep.
Yep. And then foot switch 3 is going to have both. So what I'm going to...
That's an excellent example of how mine and Dan's minds differ, because I couldn't go like, I'd have to go, It's got to be loud, louder, loudest, right?
Yep.
So where did we go? We went automatone. And
Yes.
you know the automatone's on because loop 1 is lit.
Yep.
That's both together.
Yeah, or you can do it the way you want to set it up. So make that 2. Make that 2. So turn one
So
off.
just turn that off.
Yep.
And I want that for 1 and 2.
There you go.
Watch these lights here as I press the foot switch. And being somebody who doesn't want to delve into high tech with guitar gear, that way you just press the button and you don't have to hit save or anything. It's just in the way that the tomato tones are WYSIWYG.
Yeah.
Your switches are WYSIWYG too.
Well, it has to be.
Yeah.
It has to be. I think our brains are quite similar with that. I've just spent longer around the MIDI stuff because I've had to understand it. Like the first switches we didn't have MIDI. I designed it to work with my old mistress and my old CU1. I was like, nah, no one wants that stuff.
No one wants MIDI. MIDI went out with the 80s, right? So we'll turn on foot switch 2, which is where the preamp Mark II automatone is.
Yep. That's righteous.
I set that up to sound a bit like a tube screamer, but put loads more top on it and more bass as well. So it's, I don't know, just sounds like a nice overdrive.
That's amazing.
Now, my normal inclination here would be to step on 2 again to turn it off.
Right.
But of course, that's not going to happen because it's a preset, right? It's not on and off.
Exactly.
So my next preset is the clon style pedal, which is underneath. Hopelessly out of tune at the end. I just, thing is though, it sounds so good. I just want to play.
Sounds so good.
So what we've done there is we've had 2 pedals on their own and we've combined 2 pedals into a preset.
Yes.
In addition, if we wanted to go to our big sound there and add the delay on, number 5 is currently not assigned, is it? We haven't done that yet.
Haven't done that yet?
Yeah, so can I try?
Yes, of course.
So I have to hit the foot switch first.
Yep.
Assign which loop the delay is in, which I believe is 5.
Correct.
And then hit stompbox mode.
Correct.
So now that's just on and off.
Yep. When you so
I need to disengage it.
Yep,
Yeah.
there you go.
So if I now go to my big sound,
Yes.
then the delay will just go on top.
When you add the delay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Similarly, the reverb, foot switch 6,
Mm-hmm.
engage loop 6,
Yep.
stomp box,
There you go.
boom.
Boom.
Sorry, it just sounds so damn good.
It's fierce.
Sorry, are you getting blasted a bit?
No, I don't. Please, it's amazing. So with the stompbox thing, so when you you went to another preset after that and it turned the stompbox mode off.
So I have to be in the preset when I set the stompbox mode up.
Well, you don't. There's a number of different ways to set up stompbox mode. You can have it so that when you hit a preset, it clears all the stompbox mode things.
Yeah.
So think of it like this: you got your presets set up as your core sound.
Yeah.
And then you can add things on top and build sounds up. But when you go back to a core tone, it will clear all the things that you've added.
Yeah.
So that's a normal stompbox mode.
Yeah.
But then you have a thing called sticky stomp, which
Okay.
means that the stomps will stay on.
Is that new for this?
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Yeah. So it means that the stomps will stay on. You know, they won't clear.
So you can choose. So I love that. So you can either have just pedal straight on and off, or you can have a combination of presets with stompbox, and stompbox can either stay on or turn off.
Yeah.
So the next logical step from that is full preset. So one button press,
And doing everything.
everything changes.
Yeah. But but combinations
Yeah.
of things as well.
We were saying just as before we started filming, you know, my sort of normal bass level just for messing around doing stuff like this and playing and testing out pedals and having a laugh is just basic stompbox mode. I want
Yeah.
everything on and off so I can turn it on and off at will.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to set that up on bank 1.
Mm-hmm.
When I go to bank 2, then we might have a combination of what we just talked about, but in this case we are in bank 4.
Mm-hmm.
You can assign it to any bank. But then if there's a gig coming up and there's a set list, so for example, when with the TPS band we used to do a Soundgarden song, Fell on Black Days.
Yeah. No, Black Hole Sun used to do.
Yes, Black Hole Sun. And that comedically, I had to play a slide part at the beginning, the and on that was something really super wobbly, a ton of fuzz, and a couple of other things, some reverb and delay, I think. And then the next thing I've got to play is the bing, 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 which is a completely different sound.
Indeed.
So there is no way
to go from...
I could turn off 4 pedals and on 1.
Yep.
So I'd set those up as presets, and that's the extent of my use of presets.
But that's I think one of the biggest selling points for loop switches.
Yeah.
Is because it enables you to get rid of the tap dance.
Yeah.
And that's, having to jump on a whole bunch of pedals. Like you just said, if you've got 4 pedals for one sound and 3 pedals for the other.
Yeah. I physically couldn't do it because I think there was some backing vocals in there as well, maybe. Or I was singing... over the transitions from the verses to the chorus and stuff like that. And then into the guitar solo comes straight out of another part. I think I had played the solo on that.
Yeah, did.
And I just couldn't I couldn't stop singing the BVs, turn off 3 pedals and 4 on.
Yep.
So that worked. All right. In which case then, let's do that. Let's set up some presets. So what we're going to turn on is a gain stage. We're going to set up some presets. And then it's going to be time to
jump in. Well, let's set up a couple of presets on 7 and 8 then.
Okay, so a typical preset for me then would be the clon style pedal.
Yes.
Which I believe is in number 2.
Correct.
Loop 2. I want some delay, which is in 4. 5. And I want the Ripley, I keep calling it the Ripley 4. The Dan and Mick signature Harmonious Monk from Jam Pedals, which is loop 3. So I'll have that, yeah?
Yeah, indeed.
So that will be my sound in number 7. So let's say we are playing Hear My Trainer Coming, and that's my sound for that. In 8, I want all the same stuff plus the fuzz.
Okay.
And you know what? I want the reverb too. So.
So good.
Clearly, there's another way you could have done that. I could have put the Automatone in stompbox mode and just added it on the top because it was just one more pedal.
Yeah.
But for a radically different sound, we turn all those pedals off. What I want is nothing but the reverb, right?
There you go. Presets. Now, I want to go back to the big sound that you had then, because one other thing that you can do in some of the more, shall we say, advanced loop switches is that you can dedicate and change the signal path within there. So one thing that we do a lot is the wet dry thing.
Yeah.
And we love wet dry, with the Harmonious Monk. So if we go back to the original sound, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to set it up. I'm going to split the signal after the gain stages. And so then only one side goes through the Harmonious Monk.
So we'll have gain stages hitting both amps.
Yep.
Harmonious Monk only 1 amp, and reverb and delay in stereo.
Exactly.
So we're mixing parallel and stereo,
Exactly.
which you couldn't do in G2.
No.
Which we needed an extra device for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that, because we had used a humdinger in G2 to split it, but it was sort of a permanent thing. But you can do that sort of per preset with this one. So, like for example, what I'm going to do, I'm going to go in here, and I'm going to go down to parallel. I'm going to turn the parallel on. I'm going to go down here and say, I want the parallel, I want the signal to split before loop 3.
Yeah.
Right? So, signal split before loop 3. Then, parallel end, it says no join, which means after it's split, it's not going to join up anywhere. It's going to go straight to outputs 1 and 2.
Sure.
I can join it, so I can have like 2 overdrives running in parallel, then join it, and then send that into...
So if for example, you weren't running into 2 amps, you were just using 1 amp, but you wanted to use your example, run 2 overdrives in parallel instead of in series, you can go in your tuner, wah-wah, 2 overdrives in parallel, back into split, back in again to your mono chorus pedal, into your mono delay, out to 1 amp.
Yeah. And it's also great for if you got I'm using an H9 in my rig for some really extraneous sounds, but to give my H9 an analog drive-through,
Okay.
it's perfect for that.
So do you run it 100% wet?
In some things I will, absolutely. So if I'm doing like a harmonized thing, the dry signal is analog, but the wet signal, which is the H9, there's no drive-through in that signal.
Oh, awesome.
So and when you look at switches that have that parallel option, it's a really great thing to do. So because we've got no join, we're not joining up after that. We're going straight out to outputs 1 and 2.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, it depends on what side I want to stick the Harmonious Monk.
Yeah.
I can choose which amp I want to send it to, whether I stick it in the parallel side or the normal side. Right. So for the moment, if we just leave it as the normal side.
Yeah.
So now if I turn on the Monk, you'll hear it's only going into 1 amp.
Awesome.
As opposed to this. So now if we go back to that, the reason I wanted to do that, when we did that big fuzz and solo sound, I think because we had...
Sorry, everything at 2 o'clock done.
Essential. But because it's such a big sound, that thing, and it like lots of modulation, you can run the risk of it overtaking things.
Yeah.
So now with that in parallel, if you go back to your fuzz and what have you had?
Fuzz, clon, delay, and reverb. I think it's everything. Bit of a seagull at the end there.
So just to type the preset thing, in certain presets, there's things that you can do with that analog signal path.
Yeah, and of course, in addition to that, you can switch things in your amp. You can flip the phase. There's lots of other functional stuff you can do.
All that stuff.
In addition.
Yeah. So that's basically, looking at the signal path side of things and creating presets and stompbox mode stuff. And of course, this isn't unique to this. There are lots of units that can do that.
I like it because it's any combination of multi-touch, if that's what you want,
yeah,
or single touch.
Yeah.
So you can have one button that will do absolutely everything, or if you don't want it to do everything, you can configure it in any way you want.
Totally.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, are you ready?
Yeah, so the point of MIDI then, and for anyone who already uses MIDI and knows MIDI, you know this already, so don't throw things at the screen, but the point of MIDI is when you have something like, any of the pedals on the top row there, they have multiple parameters and presets. So, for example, when you switch through the presets on the reverb,
It still blows my mind that.
yeah, I'm literally never going to get over it. So in addition to your switcher turning the reverb unit on and off, it can also then, it can do two things. One is it can change the preset, but it can also do continuous control of certain parameters.
Yeah. Yeah.
Should we step back? Let's do a preset change.
Okay. Right, well, let's go to a new bank then.
Yeah.
Yep. Right, let's start again. Okay. So let's have a look at, why don't we set up some gain tones on the bottom?
Yeah.
Yeah. Or some core tones, and then we'll look at some reverb and some delay tones on the top 2 foot switches.
Like mixed, yeah. So some combinations of two.
Yeah.
So all right, let me do that then. So so we called up a new bank. This might be how many presets in a bank?
Well, you got 8 presets in a bank. They're up to 16 presets in a bank because every preset has its own hidden preset that you get to by stepping twice. But
so a bank could be a song. If there was a lot of sound changes in a song, or it could be, your blues set, or your punk set, or your function gig set. You set them up however you want.
Yep.
All right. So what I want in 2 then is the clon type.
Yep.
Which I think is in number 2.
Yes.
In number 3, I want the Automatone.
Mm-hmm.
And in number 4, I want them both.
Yep.
So those are my core gain. Those are the only 2 combinations I can have, right?
Yes.
3 combinations. One, the other, or both.
Yep. And while that's true, you can have a different overdrive sound because obviously the Automatone preamp is MIDI.
Yeah.
So, let's have a look at that. So let's just play through the sound that you've got at the moment. Okay, so there's your...
Yeah, just to explain that, I've already set up 3 sounds that I kind of like on the Automatone. One is a straight boost.
Uh-huh.
Two is that sort of fat tube screamer I had before.
Yep.
And 3 is a fuzz.
I love that, the open fuzz. It's incredible.
It's a really cool sound.
Yeah, I really love it.
So those would be 3 sounds that I would use. How then do we tell Automatone
To switch to those.
to switch?
Okay. Why don't we have, for this one, why don't we have 1, 2, and 3 here?
Yep.
Yeah. And then you can have a combination of that one at the end, just
Cool.
to make it simple.
Yeah.
Right. So what we're going to do, each of these units will receive its MIDI on what we call a MIDI channel, right? And there are 16 MIDI channels, 1 through to 16. And what we can do is separate. What we can do is set up each of these 3 pedals on its own MIDI channel, and then send specific MIDI messages to those pedals. So you can send them all at once or send them one at a time. But what you don't want to happen is to have them all set up on the same MIDI channel, send a message that's only meant to go to the Automatone, and then it changes everything.
Yep.
All right. So that's why setting things up on their own MIDI channel is a really good idea. Now, I've already done this. I've already set this up on channel 1, channel 2, and channel 3.
Yep.
Just because actually that came set up as 1 and that was on 3, so I just set that one to 2. But
so that's a presumably accessing when you power up one of these, or is there a
Yeah,
combination of button presses?
Yep. So I'll show you every pedal. There are 1,000 different ways to do this. And this is why when you get into the MIDI side of things, it is the case of sitting down and learning the process with the pedal.
Yeah.
But I'll show you in the free the tone. And setting up the MIDI channels is really simple. What I do is I would take the power out.
Yep.
I can hear you. It's packed in pretty tight. I hold down the preset foot switch.
Do you have to stand on one foot?
I do. So I hold down the preset foot switch as I plug the power back in. Now, blue light's gone on. That tells me what MIDI channel I've got. I can set the MIDI channel here. So that's all. That receives on all MIDI channels.
Yeah.
Or it might be called Omni. And there's our 16 or off.
So is 16 like a fairly standard number of MIDI channels for
That's what you get.
these sorts of devices?
Yeah.
So if you got your timeline, that would have 16 MIDI channels?
Exactly. That's exactly right.
Yeah.
So we choose one, press that, and then we're away.
So it now says, any MIDI message I receive on channel 1, do something.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. As opposed to this one being received on MIDI channel 2.
Yeah.
And this being received on MIDI channel 3.
And the process is similar for those, some sort of power up mode, combinations of buttons.
With these ones, what you need to do is power up with both foot switches down.
Yeah.
And the first channel it receives its MIDI message on, it sets it to that.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So every pedal has its own way of doing it.
So brew yourself a large pot of coffee.
Yeah, for sure.
Actually, no, don't do that. Get a big jar of Valium and a bottle of whiskey and prepare for 3 hours of swearing, but by the end of which you'll be probably
master.
unconscious and a master of it.
Okay. So what we're going to do, we're going to set up the 3 Automatone presets on foot switches 1, 2, and 3.
Right.
Okay. We go into the menu, and this will be the same for any switcher that have a menu to go and to manipulate.
Yeah.
Right. So I'll go down and I'll find the MIDI stuff.
Yeah.
Now on this one, it's the MIDI out.
Yeah. If this might not be absolutely clear on pedal cam, so apologies if it's not, but Dan's explaining what he's doing as he's going.
So I go into MIDI out. Now here, I've got I think there's 13 different MIDI messages that I can send on the one foot switch, plus all the expression pedal MIDI messages. All right. So I can set up all these different MIDI messages to happen at the same time when I press the foot switch. Right. So for the moment, all we want to do is set this to the first preset. Okay. So the first MIDI message at the moment is off. I'm going to go to the right. Now I've got this screen here to manipulate. So the moment it's off, I'm going to turn it on. I'm going to move across it, and I want it to sound on MIDI channel 3.
Because the automaton is on MIDI channel 3.
Exactly, so it's going to receive MIDI channel 3. I need to tell it what sort of message it is, whether it's a CC message, a continuous control message, or a PC message.
So a continuous control message would be something like turning the volume up and down.
Exactly. It sends a continuous MIDI message, whereas a PC message or a program change message, think of the program change message like the presets we had before. Yeah. It's going to send the information out to change the preset information on this.
Yeah,
pedal.
change X to Y instantly.
Yes.
Whereas a control message is change X to Y swept.
Exactly. So,
Swept.
So we're going to stay on PC.
Yep.
And now we need to tell it the value. Now this is where this gets a little bit tricky here, because generally you've got 128 presets, right? But
preset 1 is numbered 0.
It can be 0 or 1. Right? Some companies set their pedals up to receive the actual MIDI information.
Yeah.
Some companies receive them up, say, no, I want to start with preset 1, but that's going to be 0.
0, yeah. And
now that is the same for, I believe, these 3.
So hang on, let me see if I can get my brain around this. So you're going to have to set that to 4?
No. If I want this to send program change message for this to come to 1, it's going to start on 0 here.
Okay, so I was 1 out. Yeah. Sorry, I was going
the other way.
Yeah.
Go the other way. So
because that's logical, isn't it?
Yeah. There's no standard for it.
Yeah.
A lot of these companies, for funnily enough, there's a new version of MIDI. MIDI 2.0 is coming out, where they try and standardize a lot of this stuff. But at the moment, it's whether you start off on 0 or start off on 1, there's no standard for it. There's no standard for like the pinout information. If you go to MIDI to TRS, it could be tip or ring or tip. There's no standard for this stuff. So,
by the way, if I seem a little supercilious, that's not what I mean. I'm laughing at my own inability to take that kind of information in quickly.
Sure.
But it doesn't matter if you're talking about this, if you're talking about, video editing software or audio processing software, they all have things that are deeply non-intuitive that once you learn, you don't even think twice about it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So basically that's that preset. So I need to make sure that loop is turned on.
Yeah.
Right. For that preset. When I press that, come away from that one. Oh, it does have a 0.
It's 0.
It does have a 0. All right, so you want 1.
That makes it easy.
Okay, so you want 1,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Okay, so let's go back in here.
That's great. That's an example. So there you go. That's an example of it went wrong, but we know exactly why it went wrong. Therefore, we know exactly how to fix it.
There you go. So value 1. Okay?
Yeah.
So, away from that one. There we go.
There we go.
First one. Now I'm going to repeat that process.
Yeah.
For these 3 here. So MIDI out. 1 is going to be on. MIDI channel is 3. PC is going to be 2. And then same thing here. MIDI out. MIDI 1 is going to be on. MIDI channel 3. PC, and this is going to be 3. So now I've got 1, 2, and 3. Right, there's my 3 sounds.
So my core gain sounds. So one of the reasons that we like the Automatone so much is because we can make it sound like a bunch of different pedals without having to have a bunch of different pedals on the board. So here we go. Here's my boost. Here's my Tube Screamer Plus. And there was my fuzz.
There you go. And what we can do then, we can put your clon as a stompbox mode on number 4.
So I can add it
so
on.
you add that on top of any of the other ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, so let's do that. Just that one there, stompbox mode. So now you've got your 3 core gain tones and your gain boost.
Yeah. So one of my favourite things to do is if I've got a Tube Screamery sound is to add a clon, or a fuzz for that matter, add a clonny type thing on top of it. So
Okay. So there we go, our 3 core tones.
yeah.
Okay.
And the process is exactly the same for the reverb.
It is, but it depends on how you want to set it up, because you can set that up as a preset
Yeah.
to include the sounds from your Automatone, so it'll switch everything all at once. Or we can set these up in stompbox mode to add on top of the Automatone ones.
So you could have, in a world, you could have 4 of the same. You could have the reverb on 4 switches.
Yep.
Recalling different presets as stomp boxes.
Exactly. Let's do it with 2 of them. So, choose two reverbs that you want to use.
My presets that I've put in are 1 and 2.
1 and 2. Okay, easy. So this is set up on channel 2.
Yeah.
So it's exactly the same process. Go into MIDI out. So we're going to turn MIDI on. And we're going to channel 2. Here is our first core tone.
Yeah.
So that's adding a reverb, going between two different reverb sounds. Yeah. Do you have any presets in here that you like?
Bizarrely, I love preset 1.
Okay.
Although the mix can be a bit high, so we could tweak that. And the one that's the chorus and the delay, which I think might be preset 3. So
Okay.
So that's in 5.
Yep.
Is it enter or is it save? It's save. I just wanted to turn the mix down a little bit.
Yeah. Cool. Okay, so here we go.
Yep.
We're going to, again, same process. There you go. So now, 2 different delay sounds from one pedal, 2 different reverb sounds from one pedal, 3 different overdrive sounds from one pedal, and boost.
So and they're all, the reverbs and delays are all on stompbox mode, aren't they?
Exactly. So
I
you can
just turn
add
them
those
off.
on top
Yeah.
and turn them off on top of your core tones.
I tell you what is also cool about that. So in the Free the Tone, for example, the preset recall is a bit clunky.
Right.
You have to press the, well, I'll show you. In order to get to preset 4, if I just press the thing now, it's tap tempo.
Yes.
So you have to press and hold.
Yep.
So here we go. Here I am on preset 4 having a nice time. And up comes my preset 4 moment. That's tap tempo.
Right.
So you have to press and hold.
Okay.
Okay. And I've gone too far. I've gone to 1. So it's a bit of a clunky. I mean, once you get on top of it, it's easy enough.
Yeah.
But with this, of course, it's instant.
And again, if you want to tweak that sound, you tweak it and you have to save it to that same spot. But what we're doing is we're pointing the MIDI messages at the pedals that we want to change, and recalling the presets that you've already programmed. So there's one more thing we'll have a quick look at.
Yeah.
Because that's the PC message side of things. That's the sending program change messages.
Yeah.
I think specifically for the reverb, this is awesome. I'm going to have a look at CC messages.
Oh, you're going to put the mix control or the depth control on.
So what we're going to do? We're going to use the expression pedal, right? And a really great thing about the Automatone series is that you can have a heel sound and a toe sound. You can either just increase the mix, or you can have a completely different sound and merge between the two. So
it's basically saying, in the heel position, set sliders like this.
Exactly.
In the toe position, set them like that, and move between the two.
Exactly.
Oh,
so now this will be different depending on the manufacturer and all that sort of stuff. But the way that
So this is where, if you're using that expression pedal and that effects pedal, you need to read both of those manuals.
If you're using an expression pedal into your MIDI controller, and then the MIDI controller controlling the device, because these have expression pedal inputs on them.
Oh, I see. Right? So at the moment, the Mission expression pedal is going into G3.
At the moment, the Mission is going into the Atom.
Yeah.
And so what we're doing is, instead of using the expression pedal inputs on here, we're actually using the MIDI equivalent for the expression pedal.
Yeah, right.
It does exactly the same job, but we're sending it over a MIDI message. And what that means is, instead of having, I can have 3 different expression pedals for each of these pedals, or I can have one expression pedal and tell it what I want it to do per preset.
So you're in preset 6 and you need a volume swell.
Yes.
You can do that.
Yep.
Preset 7, the same expression pedal is configured to affect the depth on your reverb.
Exactly.
That's cool. Or both.
Or both at the same time.
Yeah, yeah.
Exactly. So let's have a look at the reverb. Let's get back in here for a second. Right.
I just need to readjust the space-time continuum there, Dan.
Okay. Let's look at. I just want to. Are there any presets? Do you might? I need a preset to mess with.
Can you keep numbers 1 and 2 and
So
mess with anything else?
Okay,
Yeah.
no
There's some crazier ones further up.
Okay. So let's.
It doesn't matter. It literally took me all of about 40 seconds to set that preset.
Okay.
Compared to 40 hours in other devices.
Okay. Right. Let's go in here. We're going to go into the.
I would just say at this point, if you are surprised by my lack of willingness to engage with this kind of tech when it's more complex, I think you'll find a lot of pro musicians of the same mindset. I did a vlog recently with Ainsley Lister, which hopefully will have gone out by the time this video goes out. Ainsley's a great player, been touring for all his adult life.
Yeah.
Great musician, songwriter, driver of the van. He's all over it, and it's his living.
Mm-hmm.
But we were just doing things like setting up a couple of presets on DD500, and he was like, "Wow, I have literally never done this."
Yeah.
And there's someone that can hold an audience of God knows how many thousand people with aplomb, So
Sure.
the two things aren't necessarily.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's just start off with let's get a standard reverb sound. So let's go for. I'm going to use Hall for this.
Dan is going to play before the end of the video, by the way, as well.
This is all good. Let's go for a medium diffusion and a medium tank modulation.
Yeah.
So here is our Hall. So I've saved that sound now, so that will recall whenever we now go to that preset.
Yep.
Okay. What I want to do is I'm going to change some of that for the heel position, so we make it more subtle, and then maybe add a bit more in the toe position so that you can blend all that stuff. So the way that we do that with this pedal is that we hit both foot switches at once. It says E, which tells us expression pedal mode.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I should have got that really.
And then we're going to move the faders that we want to have access to with the expression pedals. So effectively what we've done is we've set up a different heel and toe position using CC messages. Yeah. So, I mean, if I swing the heel and toe position back forwards, in fact, you'll see the mix level.
The magic sliders.
The magic sliders. So now if you play and just slowly on the expression pedal,
Yep.
dial in the reverb to taste.
I shall play a chord, the chord that should be played with all reverb sounds.
So if we select the preamp, and so we have our overdrive sound and then we just blend the reverb on top of that. So that's all done with MIDI. That's a CC message, a continuous control message. So you can set that up to, on the automatones, you can blend, you gain and your volume or whatever, set that up in your preset, use the expression pedal, away you go.
That's a lot of information.
A lot of information.
I'm going to play for like 30 seconds or so, just
Okay.
to flick through a couple of things. I think you should have a play.
Okay.
Just to get a feel for it.
There you go.
Blimey, that was a long one, and there was quite a lot of information to take in. I think what's really interesting about that is, number one, some of the sound combinations are spectacular.
Yeah, totally.
No doubt about it. So from a sonic point of view, hard not to be happy with that.
Yeah.
Functionality is, I think it's just hours in at this point, isn't it? Because you could probably tell in both of our playing that not being familiar with what's turned on and off, not where the settings are and all of that,
Yeah.
your brain's trying to do two things
Yeah,
at
of
once,
course.
and it's not really coming through in the playing. So it's hours in, getting familiar with what's actually coming out, but the potential of that is pretty staggering.
Yeah, it's extraordinary.
It's pretty staggering, albeit, of course there's a lot of cash on there, right? Just scary if you start to add that up.
Yep.
But then I see plenty of people with a board with like 15 really decent pedals on. What do we got on there? We've actually got 5. You can't see the
Ryra
underneath.
Yeah.
So for me, to make that a complete board, I would want to add Ripley Fall for chorus and phaser.
Yep.
Although it's surprising how good the chorus is in the delay when you set the delay times really short. And my octave. And I think I'd be pretty happy with that.
Yeah, and
Super
I think
interesting.
that's the thing about the, having all of those. Even though there's a lot of sounds you can get, just the ability to have those 3 different sounds in the automaton.
Yeah. I'm not interested in 1,000 different sounds because I won't ever use them.
Yeah.
What I'm interested in is being able to tweak the 2 or 3, 4 gain staging relationships that I have on the fly, so that it's sitting right for that particular moment.
Yep.
Will I stick with the MIDI? Maybe. I just think it's hours in.
It is. That's exactly right.
And just being familiar with it so that it doesn't trip you up.
Yeah.
And so that when something goes wrong, you know what to do to fix it. And I think that's just learning the interfaces of all the pedals. Which, in pursuit of that sound, I am willing to do.
Amazing.
Because it does, we've said it before about this stuff, the fidelity of those 3 pedals across the top there
Unsurpassed.
is a different league.
Yeah, it really is.
When you're hearing it at stupid watts that no one's allowed to use anymore.
Yeah. Brilliant.
Oh, mate, thank you.
You're so welcome. I mean, once you've had a play, and then we'll work out what board to use and we'll get everything laid out nice and stuff. But, have a play. Let's see.
Yeah, proof of concept.
Yeah, there you go.
Tick.
Yep.
Yeah. And we hope that was of use to any of you who are in the same boat as me, a bit nervous of this kind of stuff. And or those of you who have seen switchers, are interested but don't really know what the benefits are.
Yep.
Hopefully we've covered both of that ground today. Not the most sparkling playing in our lives, but then that's the nature of going, does it work?
Yeah. But like that, it's like, it's again, got to drag yourself out of that headset. But anyway, there you go, guys. Hope you enjoyed that. Thanks so much for watching. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed. A massive thank you to our preferred retailers in the UK and Europe is
Anderson's Music of Guildford in Surrey.
And in Australia
would be Pedal Empire of Brisbane, Queensland.
And we have links below.
We do, to Sweetwater in the US. And if you buy something from them from one of our links, we get a little kickback on that, and it greatly helps us do this show.
Indeed it does.
Happy New Year.
Yes, and a Happy New Year.
Yeah.
And why not celebrate a New Year with some fantastic TPS merch? You like that?
Oh, I like it.
I like your pocket tee, by the way. It's very nice.
Pocket tee, yeah.
Very good.
You could put a plectrum in there like this. We ship all over the world. So that pedalshowstore.com for merch and stuff is the other way we fund this show.
Brilliant. There we go.
I need to lie down.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Have a great day, guys. We'll see you soon. Bye.